What's going on YouTube? Top Faker today. Today we've got the comparison of the iPad mini and the Nexus 7. Now I've got this on the 32GB slate for the iPad and the 16GB for the Nexus 7. Now they're both very similar in size, however the iPad actually has a thickness of 7.2mm in comparison to the Nexus 7, which has a 10.5mm comparison. So on both sides actually you've got the volume rocker as well as the lock or mute button on the iPhone and the hold button and the volume rocker on the Nexus 7. They both have very nice designs, however the Nexus 7 I have to say is less prone to fingerprints as is the slate version of the iPad mini. I found that I can easily get fingerprints, so that's probably a reason you might want to have a back case. The iPad mini is running iOS 6.0.1. It was a minor update that Apple actually included when it was launched, and it's actually quite a nice operating system, although it hasn't changed much since its official release quite a few years ago. It still now supports multitasking. The iPad mini actually has a dual-core 1GHz processor in comparison however to the quad-core 1.3GHz processor on the Nexus 7. Again, the iPad mini can be used in landscape, which is quite nice, and typing is much easier. Although it doesn't have a retina display, the resolution of 1024 by 768 with a pixel density of 136 pixels per inch is quite comparable to the Nexus 7, which actually has a a screen resolution of 1280 by 800. However, the pixel density is slightly higher at 216 pixels per inch. Also the RAM. The RAM in the iPad mini is half of what is in the Nexus 7, as it uses the same specifications as the iPad 2. The Nexus 7 is running Jelly Bean 4.1.2 actually, and does have Project Butter, for example, as well as the Nexus 7, and recently with Notification Center, and recently also launched with Landscape. The Nexus, however, only has a front-facing camera and only supports that during video calls. There is no rear-facing camera. The iPad mini has a FaceTime HD 720p camera as well as a 5MP rear-facing camera with 1080p video recording at 30 frames per second. So let's do a boot test now. Now keeping in mind that the iPad mini has a battery of 4490 mAh in comparison to the Nexus 7, which is 4325. Now that's only 4% more battery. However, I found the iPad mini does have quite a better battery life. Again, also in terms of the RAM, the iPad mini is 500MB RAM in comparison to the Nexus 7, which has 1GHz, 1GB of RAM. Quad core, obviously Tegra 3 NVIDIA, and compared to the dual-core A5 processor found in the iPad 2. So let's see how gaming. Now I have to say though, the iPad mini, despite the dual-core processor, only 512MB of RAM, it does handle hardcore gaming, quite graphic demanding games such as Real Racing HD, which I'm actually demoing right now. It is quite smooth. However, obviously the retina display that you don't see as in the iPad 3 and 4 obviously isn't as nice on the iPad mini. The Nexus 7 has a slightly higher resolution display, and playing other games such as Angry Birds is really smooth, and even when playing Real Racing HD or other graphic demanding games, you can still get quite good results with the quad-core processor as well as the 1GB of RAM. Now personally, I really like Apple's design. The new slate model is really nice, and although the Nexus 7 is quite a nice design, I really like Apple. They're really good with their innovation. So they're both available to purchase. However, you may notice that the Nexus 7 is available for $199 for the 16GB model, as well as $329 for the iPad mini on $329 for the 16GB model. So there is definitely a difference in price. So both devices are available on the website, on the Google Play Store, as well as the Apple Online Store, as well as you can pick up in the Apple retail stores. But that's it from the top of tech. If you guys are interested in more videos, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you later.